Love smarter, not harder. Today's question has two parts. We'll start with the beginning. How can you tell the difference between being in a relationship that isn't right for you, maybe settling or selling yourself short by being with a man who isn't on your emotional level, versus coming from a place where you're lacking in self-love and you're projecting that onto the man? So let's stop there because that's complex enough. So we absolutely want to be careful when we're assessing our motivation for being in a relationship. And if we do feel that this person isn't at our level in any way, and you guys know I talk about this all the time, if you're in a relationship, it's not a fit, it's just not a fit. But when we decide it's not a fit, of course we want to be reflective. We want to make sure of why it's not a fit. And if it's not a fit because I'm settling for someone who isn't at a place for me emotionally that I can resonate with them and connect with them, or if, as I think the questioner is asking, am I not feeling worthy of love because I lack self-love, such that when someone loves me and is emotionally available to me and respects me, I can't receive it. So I project onto them, well, you're not worth being in a relationship with. And we demean and undermine them and their value and their worth because of our own self-love. So this is kind of, like I said, it's pretty nuanced. And there's no really easy way to figure this out. It takes a lot of soul searching. It takes a lot of self-analysis. Of course, I would recommend therapy if this is something that you've seen to be a pattern in your life. Having conversations with trusted friends who you could say, hey, here's what I'm feeling in this relationship. And they could say, you know, I know you well. This is not the first good guy who's emotionally available who you've then tried to say isn't good for you. Is that maybe that you're not comfortable receiving love? And because maybe childhood stuff and family systems, we talk about recapitulation of family of origin issues. So typically we end up looking to our opposite sex parent as the type of energy that we want to bring into our romantic relationship, not in any kind of incestuous weird level, but just kind of Freudian, but also true. But so if my dad was not available for me emotionally, if he was no good, he took off, he was never around, or he hurt my mom and abused her physically, emotionally, then that's my model. So and then the recapitulation part is fascinating. What happens is in adulthood, then I will look for a man, subconsciously not realizing it, who also has those same dynamics, who has that same energy. And what I'll try to do is, in adulthood, I'll get him to love me the way my father never did. And what I'm hoping to do is heal the wound from childhood by getting now in adulthood, when I'm in control, getting the guy to love me who's emotionally unavailable. It'll make up for the fact that dad never loved me. Doesn't work. It's understandable, but it's not rational. But again, it's subconscious. We don't plan on doing it. That's what happens. So I think in this case, the questioner is asking, is it possible then that if I don't love myself, I don't feel worthy of love, then if some guy is available to me, he is respectful of me, he does love me, I won't feel comfortable with that. And I'll project onto him all my lack of self-love and then diminish him in my eyes and want to get away from him and see, oh, I'm settling with this guy. So very nuanced. And like I said, it's going to take a lot of soul searching, digging, listen to podcast episodes like Deeper Dating with Ken Page. It's episode 63. It's amazing. Read that book. The podcast Tomorrow with Dr. Duana Welch is also great for this kind of question. So yeah, you got to do the work, the soul searching and self-analysis. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take intentional effort, reading quality books, following accounts where you feel like you're getting quality information for personal growth and development. Part 2 of the question, I want to know if it's reasonable to require reassurance in a relationship, or if that feeling is a void that only you yourself can fill. Another great question. You guys know I talk about it all the time. You want to be in a relationship where you want to be with your partner and they want to be with you. That's the powerful place, not when you need to be with them and they need to be with you, because that is a place of deficit. And when we come to a relationship from a place of deficit and from need, then we put up with crap we shouldn't put up with, right? And to answer your question specifically, it is perfectly reasonable to want to hear you talk about reassurance, that you are valued in the relationship. Absolutely. I mean, why be in a relationship if you never hear how wonderful you are and how happy that your partner is, that you're together, and how wonderful you guys have this partnership that elevates both of your lives, right? Of course you want to hear that, or have it shown depending on your love language, right? Maybe it's shown through acts of service and quality time. So there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's understanding, do I need to hear these words to fill that void, as you put it? Or is that just nice icing on the cake? And I don't even want to say icing on the cake. I want to say, is that just a nice element of being in a relationship? Because I do think that if a quality, healthy relationship does entail gestures of, I appreciate you, which is assuring one another that you matter to me, you're valuable to me, and I'm so glad we're together. My last podcast episode with Dr. Terry Orbuck about how to take your marriage from good to great. The entire podcast we talked about that. Little gestures that you give your partner every day, day in, day out, to let them know that they are valuable. My husband tells me all the time, I love being with you, Karen. You're so smart. You're so beautiful. I love being with you in social settings because you're so kind to people. You're such a good listener. Look, all these things. I love hearing that. I don't need to hear that to feel okay about me, right? I want to hear that in this relationship. He knows that words of affirmation are one of my love languages, so he gives me that. But I don't need it globally to feel that Karen is okay and valuable in this life, because I've done the work. And also I was very, very blessed to have amazing parents who built into me and still do. So I had a great foundation. And the reason I'm stressing this is because if we go into a relationship feeling that void, as you mentioned, and needing our partner to say things or do things to validate who we are at our core. I'm not okay unless a man tells me I'm beautiful. I'm not okay unless a man tells me that I'm worth something. Then I am super vulnerable in the relationship. And that's what we want to avoid. So yes, enjoy the words of affirmation or the reassurance that comes from being in a healthy relationship. But no, do not need that reassurance to feel globally okay about who you are as a person. I hope that helps.